tell how to keep from loving you. Yeah. Now should I fence in my heart, baby? Or keep it in the shade? Give it all the fruit it could want, except your teach me, baby. Well, one more time. Just exactly how far you are away. Should I stop walking now, baby? Wait another day. You know I don't need no map. Yes, I find my way. Teach me, baby. Oh, I promise I get it this time. How to hold a bird in my hand and watch it grow. See those feathers bloom. Don't let it fly. Even though that's what it's supposed to do. Yes, yeah, yeah. Come on, play rock. Teach me, baby.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adriana, and welcome to our virtual open house. We wish that we were welcoming you to our campus today, but we're still excited to welcome students from 14 different states and countries, including Alabama, California, Delaware, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Minnesota, Texas, Italy, and Chile. We know that you guys have a lot of choice in how you spend a Saturday, so thank you all for choosing to spend a little bit of time with us. Before we get started with our official programming, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items so that you all can enjoy our program to its fullest potential. So we recommend that you all watch today's programming using speaker view, and that all of us joining keep our video and audio off. We also recommend that you hide non-video participants. To do that, you can hover over the little box of someone who's not sharing their video, click the 3 little dots in the corner, and then you should be able to click a little box that says hide non-video participants. For students joining us who need an ASL interpreter, we will have 2 interpreters joining us today. Derek is with us right now. We'll have someone joining us in a bit, but we recommend that you use gallery view so that you can see the transition of our interpreters. Now let's go over the schedule for today. So once I'm finished, I'll hand it over to Bob, who will welcome you all to campus. Then Thomas will lead us in a great overview of the Common App and give you all insights on how you can use the Common App to its fullest potential. Annie will give us a great overview of financial aid and the FAFSA. Then we'll have Clay and some great Current Center students join us for a student panel conversation. Cody will lead us in a workshop on center scholarships, and then Pam will close us out with some final words. Once Pam is finished speaking, we'll have a little bit of a pause in our programming, and then we'll head into an optional virtual guided tour. We'll have some center students lead you all in a virtual tour of campus. We'll get to hear a bit more about the center story. So those are all the housekeeping items I have. I will turn it over to Bob, our Dean of Admission and Financial Aid, to officially welcome you all. Thanks, Bob.
Hi, everyone. Officially welcome. My name is Bob Nesmith. I'm Dean of Admission and Financial Aid, as Adriana mentioned. And I'm delighted with the variety of geographic origins of this group. That's amazing. I know there's at least one very happy native Delawarean, I don't know how you say that, Thomas, on our staff who is probably proud and excited that we have someone piping in from Delaware. My job today is to introduce the college and introduce the program. You're right to be looking here. If you come to Center, you can expect an education that will equip you with the intellectual skills to not only succeed, but lead in your field. That's important. That means it's an education that doesn't just get you your first job. It serves you your whole life long and positions you to be the leader in whatever you may choose. You'll get experiences that will develop the personal skills and character and appreciation for difference that's necessary to be competitive and successful in an increasingly global society. That may include study abroad. It likely will include study abroad for many of you. It will almost certainly include an internship experience while you are with us, and it will very likely include hands-on research experience under the guidance of a mentor. We promise these things through the center commitment, and if we fall down on our promise, then we will give you a 5th year free to make sure you get that experience. It's a powerful commitment. We've been doing this for 20 years now and have had great success making sure that these powerful educational experiences are accessible to our students. Finally, you'll find yourself in an environment that is beautiful, that is supportive, that is a tightly knit community filled with friendship and activity, and that will call out your absolute best as a learner, as a person, as a leader. That's what happens at Center. And if you're interested in that, I'm so excited to work with you through the admission process. I'd like at this point to introduce some of the folks who will guide you through your journey in the admission process, which is a little different this year for you and for us as well. We don't have as many chances to get to know you live in person, but there's a lot of chances to get to know you virtually. We're changing our admission process in some important ways to acknowledge what's going on in the world, and you'll hear more about those later in the program. But the people you're about to meet are charged with helping you through the process and being a resource so that you make a good choice at the end of it. And I'm going to call on each of them individually. Pam, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. I'm Pam Boffman. I have the pleasure of serving as the Associate Dean and Director of Admission at Center. I work with local students, and I also work with students from Hawaii. Grew up in Northern Kentucky, went to Beechwood High School, graduated from Center in 1993, and have recently celebrated having a son graduate from Center in May. And I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Pam. David.
Hi, my name is, am I on there? I don't see myself. I am David Witt. I am a 1983 graduate of Center College. Pardon me, I get to work with students from most of Eastern Kentucky, the entire state of Ohio. I myself grew up in what would be called sort of north central rural Kentucky, a tiny little town, Owenton. It's right in the middle of the triangle from Cincinnati to Lexington to Louisville. Thanks.
Great, thank you, David. Annie.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Annie Murphy. I am a 2004 graduate of Center, and I have the pleasure of working with students in Louisville, so all of our Jefferson County students, as well as students from Arizona. I am originally from Louisville as well, so I look forward to working with many of you. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you, Annie. Cody.
Hey everyone, Cody Cook here. I am a 2014 graduate of Center College. I majored in Spanish and minored in linguistics. I work with students from Anderson, Scott, Woodford, and Franklin counties, and I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, PRP High School. So shout out to all the Louisvillians out there. It's good to see you. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Cody. Clay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Clay Taylor, and I'm a 2016 graduate from Center College. Originally from Louisville, Kentucky, graduated from Male High School, go Dogs. I work with students in true Northern Kentucky, so Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties. And then I shift down to Georgia, the whole state, and I work with students from Knoxville and Chattanooga. So I'm very excited to have you all this afternoon and look forward to hopefully meeting you all soon.
Fantastic, thanks, Clay. Kelly, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Hedgepeth, and I work with students. Bear with me, I have a long list of territories from New England, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia, North and South Carolina. And I also have the Mountain West, so including Idaho. Excited we have someone here from Idaho today, and also parts of southeastern Kentucky. I'm not a Center grad, but I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, so I know how wonderful a place Center College is, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thanks.
Wonderful. Karina?
Hi, everyone. My name is Karina Bruce. I am also not a Center grad, but I definitely love being at Center. I am originally from Lexington Park, Maryland. It's as south as you can go in Maryland if you look at a map. I also kind of have a long list of territories, so I'll just kind of get started. So I have Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and then I also have Memphis, West Tennessee, and then I also have Western Kentucky for those of you guys who are from Kentucky, and then I also have part of Hardin and Hart County for anybody who is from E-Town. Thank you so much.
Great, Karina. What a list. Eric, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Maloney, and I am a 2020 grad from Center College. So I'm fairly new to the team, and I left and I came back. So it's nice to be back in the Center community again. So my territories are Indiana, Illinois, and then parts of northern to central Kentucky. So Oldham, Owen County, Bewlett, and Shelby County as well are just a few of a variety that I have. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in the near future.
Did you mention your hometown, Eric?
Yes, I'm originally from Brookfield, Connecticut. So I came from the New England area. So I'm a bit far out, but I do enjoy the Kentucky atmosphere.
All right. Adriana, we met you at the beginning, but you didn't really get a chance to tell us who you are.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Adriana Martin, Assistant Director for Diversity Recruitment here at Center. I am a center grad as well, but I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I get to work with great students from Texas, California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and then also get to work with international students. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Adriana. If you enjoyed the program today, then you should express your thanks to Lauren, who has organized our effort. Lauren, will you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Bob. Yes, my name is Lauren Samuelson. I also work in the admission office, and I'm a center graduate from 2016. I'm originally from the state of Louisiana, but went to high school in Southwest Florida before coming to center. But I'm very excited to get to work with students from the Lexington area, from Fayette and Jessamine counties, also from students from the Nashville area in Tennessee and the state of Missouri. But thank you all so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. We're really glad you're here.
Finally, I'm going to turn over the program to my great colleague, Thomas Becker, and allow him to introduce himself and take it away. Thomas.
All right, thanks, Bob. Like Bob mentioned, I am that one staff member hailing from the great state of Delaware, so very happy to have you all here. I work with students from Delaware, as well as Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC, and the state of Wisconsin. So please feel free at any point to be in touch. I welcome that opportunity. Y'all, I am going to share my screen here. This is the part of the program that I hope is useful for all of you, whether you're applying to Center College or looking at other places as well. The Common App is something that is thrown around in a lot of lingo circles throughout the college application process. And what we want to give you are some tips, tricks, kind of tools of the trade that are going to help you present us with a quality application here at Center College, but also serve you well for any school that you're applying to using the Common App. So you might be wondering, what is the Common Application? The first thing you should know is that it's one application. This is not a very widespread, everyone has their own different version. There are nearly 900 colleges and universities that use the Common App as the way to apply to their school. There are a few goals with the Common App itself. The first is simplification. You don't need to fill out a bunch of different versions of many different applications that are using pretty much the same information. So the goal of the Common App, first and foremost, is simplification. Second is access. After you have the opportunity to see that you can cut down that time that you're spending applying to schools, you can apply to more of them and explore more of them. The Common App also provides for a great deal of support for students who are perhaps under-counseled. We want, as institutions, to be able to assist in the counseling process. There is a reason why our role is not called salesperson. It's called admission counselor. We are here to counsel you through this process and provide as much logistical support as we possibly can. And finally, service. We want to be able to help you. It's not just a matter of guiding you through the process, it's seeing it to a successful end. And whether that ends at Center College or another institution, we want to have served you well throughout the duration of that process. Center is Common App exclusive. We do not have a separate application. All you need to do is apply via the Common App. There are 5 key aspects of the Common App that I'm going to roll through here today. They are here on the screen. First is nuts and bolts. We're going to talk about recommendation letters, your activities list, your personal statement, and the center supplement. So first up is nuts and bolts. This is logistical information. It's very likely that you might need to go hunt for some of this information from your parents or guardians. It's going to be first biographical information. Who are you? Where do you live? Where are you from? You are also asked for information about your parents and guardians. There is a wide variety of situations and circumstances where that information may be readily available or not readily available. I encourage you to be in touch with your admission counselor or the counseling staff at your school if you have any questions about what you can and should be filling out. At Center, we are going to take the most generous approach that we possibly can, and we want the information that you are able to provide to us, but we're not going to ask you to bend over backwards getting us stuff that would be difficult for you. It's also important that you provide us with counselor and teacher contacts. These are folks who we are going to work with throughout the application process, just like we're working with you. We'll touch on recommendation letters in a second, but if we have any questions about your application, perhaps if you filled something in wrong, or if we need to get in touch about supplemental materials or your transcript, we need to know who to contact. So please be diligent in filling out that information. It's helpful to us and it's helpful for your application. The second part are recommendations. And the first thing I must say is that we read your recommendation letters. They give us great insight to who you are, and we encourage you to make sure that your recommenders are able to speak to you in a variety of ways. We want to know who you are as a learner. There are two key portions for us to understand who you are as a learner. The first is as a classroom student. As a person applying to Centre College, you can expect a rigorous academic experience. You can also expect that you're going to be challenged in the classroom in ways that you weren't in high school. So we want to know who is that person who's going to enter the classroom as a student. Are they prepared to learn? The second piece of that, though, is that you are a community member as a learner as well. So we're not just looking for, okay, that person makes pretty decent grades. We're looking for someone who's going to contribute to the life of this place. We know that when we bring a person to our campus as a student, we're not bringing a tester. We're not bringing a student. We're bringing a person. We're bringing a person with attributes and with quirks and with wonderful qualities that are going to enrich our campus community. It's not just going to be, hey, that person can pass a test or that person can turn in a decent paper. We're looking for the variety. We're looking for you as a whole person. The third part of the common application that I want to talk with you about are activities. The order in which you put these activities on your common application matters. They reflect a few things. They might reflect how long you have spent in that activity. But more importantly, they are likely going to reflect your level of commitment to that activity. So perhaps you engaged with this new activity over the course of your junior and senior years that has really piqued your interest, and you look forward to continuing being invested in that in college. Put that first. We want to know that that's something that excites you, that it's something that engages you. If you have done something for 4 years, but you really don't care about it and can't speak to it, well, maybe put that a few rungs lower on the list. I believe there are 12 opportunities for you to list activities. Feel free to use one, feel free to use all. We want you to paint an honest picture of yourself, and I'll say a little bit more about that later. Detail also matters when it comes to your activities. Please do not just put, I was in the band. Tell us about the instrument you played. Tell us about a piece you enjoyed performing. Tell us about the leadership skills or the collaboration that you engaged with as a member of that activity. I would also like to say that there are some things that don't matter when it comes to your activities, namely the activities themselves. We are not looking for you to have done a certain thing or set of things. Whoever you are, whatever you are bringing as an activity beyond your classroom obligation is something we want to know about. If you have a significant investment of time in a job or as a primary family caregiver, we want to know about that. That's going to inform who you are, how you spend your time, and you also have an opportunity to reflect on the lessons you've learned and how those experiences have shaped you as a person. So don't worry about checking all the boxes of, well, I need to have been an athlete and an artist and a volunteer. Be the best version of yourself. I was a really great babysitter. I was a really great line cook. All of those experiences are going to enrich your application to Centre and your applications to other schools as well. The fourth piece is the personal statement, also known as the essay, the Common App essay. It is a daunting task for many. The first thing that I will say is that it's really important that you be yourself. It is very apparent to us when we read your essay, and we read your essay, it gives us great insight into who you are. It's very obvious to see if it has been over-workshopped, if it has been written by someone else, usually because it's not reflective of the rest of the application, like the activities list or like the letters of recommendation. We want to see that you are presenting a cohesive picture of yourself. And the best way to do that is to be genuine. We also want you to expand on the story or ideas that you present to us. This is something where I encourage folks, if they're telling us a story or telling us about a revelation or epiphany that they had, to kind of put us in that place. Tell us about what you experienced and what you lived and what you learned, because we weren't there. So it's important that you not assume that we know what it's been like to walk in your shoes, but give us a glimpse of that. There are some really creative ways that you can do that. And finally, and this applies to the entire application, not just your essay, but it's especially important here, you should proofread everything. Everything? Everything. This is one of the easiest things to get right in the application. When something isn't proofread, when there are grammatical or structural errors, it's really distracting to the people who are reading your applications. So I encourage you to proofread it with a very high degree of intention. It's reflective of you as a student, right? Like, do you know how to use proper grammar? And it's also reflective of your diligence. Are you giving us a quality application? And of course, there are going to be things that slip through the cracks. And we understand that. Just make sure you're putting your best foot forward. The last part here is center supplement. It's very straightforward. It asks the question, why center? We want you to be truthful with us. Why are you applying to center? You don't need to put on airs. You might say, I'm applying because my counselor told me to check out this school and I have not learned as much as I want to about it, but I'm really excited to learn more. That's a perfectly honest answer. But what I would encourage you not to do is to cut and paste from our website. We read our website too, and we know if that's where you've gotten your information. So just be diligent. Come up with a sense of an honest answer. We want you to paint a picture of yourself that is true to your best self. This is an opportunity to put your best foot forward in terms of applying. Please brag on yourself. Tell us about your accomplishments. Tell us the best of yourself, but also don't over embellish. Don't paint a picture of something that's really not you at the end of the day. We know that we're bringing you to campus and we want to meet that person. And when in doubt, if there is anything about your application process that you have a question about, ask for a little bit of help. Now, I do put an asterisk on that because there are some things that are going to be important caveats in, hey, ask for help. The first is make sure that you are the person who is applying to a school. It happens more frequently than we would like, that someone is submitting an application on your behalf, or it's really not reflective of you as a person. We want you to submit an application to our school, and we want to get to know you. We value and prioritize authenticity. It's a really important value to us as an institution, and we hope that it's a value to our students, that they are true to themselves. And finally, I would encourage you to have someone else look at what you are going to submit, but not work on what you are going to submit. It's perfectly fine to have an additional voice or voices looking at your essay, looking at your activities list, working with your counselor, working with your parents and guardians, or even your friends. They're going to have great insights into presenting the best of yourself to a school like Center. And I would say that they shouldn't be the ones working on it for you. They can work on it with you. That's that look that they're giving. We encourage you to reach out to us. All of us Center staff folk have our email addresses here in the bottom of our screen, so you can email us directly. And if you don't know who to contact, there is a very long list of territories. Just email admission@center.edu. We welcome your questions. We welcome the opportunity to journey with you through your college process. And we're grateful for this time that you're sharing with us now to learn a little bit more. So I hope that gives you a sense of the Common App, the things that we look for, the things that we prioritize. And I am going to turn things over, after I stop my screen share here, to my friend and colleague, Annie Murphy, who's going to shed some more insight into our application process. So Annie, over to you.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Well done. Great information from Thomas there. What I'm going to do next is to really take us into a little bit more information about the financial aid process. We understand and appreciate that financial aid is an essential part of this process. It's probably what we field the most questions about. So we're going to go through ways that Center is going to help you through this process, our forms, all of that great stuff. So here we go. All right, so the financial aid process at Center College. So what I'm going to do today, we're going to talk through the timeline for the financial aid process, the various forms that you'll need to use, some ways that you could get an estimate earlier in the process. What does it mean when a school is finding your need or kind of trying to calculate how much assistance it might be necessary for you to afford the school? We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the different types of financial aid, some information about scholarships, and we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A, but if you've got questions, we may want to save those till the end, but feel free at the end, we can answer some of those questions. So here we go. So the timeline. Right now, the FAFSA, so the free application for federal student aid is open. So it's open now. You can fill that out anytime between now and your application deadline. We recommend that you complete this earlier in the process just because there are some states that have state funding. That funding can kind of run out, and so the earlier you apply, the better. So the timeline for us, if you apply for financial aid and you apply for admission, you apply for early decision. If you decide to choose that application plan, then November 15th would be the deadline for both your application and your financial aid information. And then you would find out about your financial aid package in January. If you apply for early action, which is our December 1st deadline, you would find out in February. If you apply regular decision, which is January 15th deadline, you're going to find out in March. That's one of the things about this process that I feel like can be the hardest in this process, is that here you guys, it's fall, you're considering your applications, where you want to apply, you're getting all of that done by the deadline. But then you often have a lot of waiting to do before you really get all of the complete pieces of the puzzle put together for you. So patience is a virtue in this college admission game. Once you get your financial aid package back from Center and all the other schools that you might be applying to, you have until May 1st to consider all those offers, and then May 1st is the national enrollment deadline. All right, so what are these forms that you need to complete? So the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, it's kind of a mouthful, huh? So the FAFSA is a federal form that you complete. You're going to complete this form using your previous year's tax information. You plug that information in, it goes into the federal database, and what the FAFSA does, and kind of what this process does, is it runs your family's information kind of through some fairly complicated formulas, but they're going to look at things like family income, assets, the number of students who are in college, look at factors like that, and then they're going to come back with kind of a need index or a need threshold. That piece of information is called the expected family contribution. So that's the federal government's guess about, hey, we think that a family in this situation could afford this much or absorb this much for a year of college. So in addition to the FAFSA, Center has a short additional form called the Center Aid form. This is a 5-minute form, not a 45-minute form. So it's a pretty short one. This one, you can find it on our website. If you apply for admission at Center, we are going to follow up with emails so that you definitely know when it's due and you're able to have access to that form easily. There are some schools out there that are similar to Center that require an additional form called the CSS profile. Center does not require this. That's a little bit more of an elaborate form, but just so you know, if you are applying to schools that do require the CSS profile, you don't need to worry about sending that to Center because we do not require that. All right, so I know that when you go through this process and you look at college sticker prices, they can be very intimidating. I also know from the work that I do, being the counselor that I am, is that I know most students do not pay that sticker price. So I encourage every family as you go through this process to never kind of cross the school off your list because that sticker price feels intimidating. There are scholarships, there's need-based financial aid, there's so many different forms of assistance for students to support them going to school. So we want you to have access to a little bit of early assurance about this process. So we actually have some estimators out there. Center has 2 of them. So we have this first one, the My Intuition Calculator. This is a wonderful, wonderful product. It's actually a nonprofit organization. They have a website, myintuition.org. What they do, they have about 60 of some of the best, most respected colleges in the country are on My Intuition. The deal is, it takes 3 to 5 minutes. You answer 6 questions, and they're going to give you a range of what they think your financial aid package might be at that institution. And a great thing is that it saves your information. So if you wanted to say, put your information in for Center, you could also just save it and easily plug it into multiple schools' calculators to get that great early estimate. There are some things the My Intuition Calculator cannot do. Although it is very quick and easy, it's not as in-depth as some of the other calculators that are out there. So for example, for Kentucky students, we have Keys money, which is basically our lottery money. And so that would not be included in that estimate. The other estimation tool that we have is called a net price calculator. This is definitely going to give you a more in-depth estimate about your potential cost at Center. And kind of a pro tip out there, every college in the United States that gives federal funding, so that's basically most places, they have to have some kind of net price calculator on their website. You know, this notion of kind of college costs being very opaque and vague and impossible to kind of understand, that tool is there for you wherever you are in your process to try to get that early information. So the net price calculator, because it does give more comprehensive information, it does take a little longer to complete. It's going to ask a little bit more detailed information. For Kentucky students, it would include, for example, our state funding. It also is going to connect you directly to our financial aid office if you have any questions about that estimate. So definitely, I recommend calculators of any kind for families who are embarking on the college search process. All right, so let's look a little bit at kind of need. We talk about need-based financial aid. What I have found through my years of practicing is that we have many families who embark and they say, wow, we know we're going to need some assistance to pay for school. Absolutely. The need is out there, and so is the funding. We also have some families who think, you know, I'm not sure if we're going to qualify for need-based funding. Well, let's talk a little bit about how that gets calculated. So the first thing we're going to look at is the overall cost of attendance of a school. So this is your tuition, your room and board, which is your housing, your meals, all your fees, and including kind of an estimate of those indirect costs, books, getting to campus, those essential things too. And then what's going to happen is that the cost of we're going to next look at your expected family contribution. So I mentioned earlier the FAFSA plus the Center aid form. You put your information in there, the formulas work to get back a number that we feel like is your kind of index or your threshold for sources of funding. So it comes back as an actual dollar amount. It says, hey, this family, their expected family contribution is X dollars. Okay, great. So we take the cost of attendance, we subtract your family's expected family contribution. That's your need. So the need portion, that's that gap in between, right? So that's where we're talking about the different sources of funding that we can often stack on top of each other in order to cover that gap and really cover that need for your family. All right, so what might those sources of funding look like? Okay, so types of aid. So scholarships, of course, we all know about scholarships. They're awesome. We have amazing students who apply to Center College. I'm so impressed by them, and many of them earn scholarships. They are well deserved. Scholarships do not need to be repaid, of course. These scholarships may come from Center. We're also going to get into some more information about Center scholarships specifically after this. Some scholarships may come from an external source. Let's say your a parent's place of employment. Maybe your place of employment has kind of a scholarship program. The next source is grants. So grants are sources of funding that do not need to be repaid. Federal grants, state grants, grants that come from Center. So there are lots of different bodies that may be providing grants for students. So the most commonly known federal grant is the Pell Grant. So that's an example of a type of grant. We also have grants that come from, for example, the state of Kentucky has a grant program. The grants that are given from Center College, us being a private institution, we have our own source of funding that we can provide to students to help bridge that gap. So let's say, the price is here, your family can afford this, you get scholarships to cover this. Oftentimes Center grants can be really helpful in bridging that gap. Loans. You will often find if you receive a financial aid package, and when I say financial aid package, I mean this comprehensive list. Sometimes it's online, sometimes it might be mailed to you, that lists all the sources of funding that have been awarded to you. One of the sources of funding that may be listed is a loan. In particular, the Stafford loan is the most common federal loan program that is for students. Of course, loans must be repaid. So they could be federal, they could also be private. Work study is also a type of assistance that you may find listed in your financial aid package. Work study does not need to be repaid. Work study it's a job. It's a job where you get to work on campus. The campus will help find you that position. There's a limit to the number of hours that you would work, that they don't want to give you so much work that it really interferes with you being a student. And so you may get a work study job, you would work on campus, you would get paid that money directly. You can then apply that to your bill, or maybe you use that money, say, for your books or kind of some other fees. All right, so Center scholarships. Scholarships are hugely important, and we are really, really lucky at Center College that we have many, many scholarship opportunities for students. So the first type of scholarship is general merit scholarships. So this is actually the most awarded type of scholarship here at Center. There is no additional application needed for students who are, you just submit your application for admission and you'll be automatically considered for these. You can see they kind of range in value, so from $7,500 all the way up to $27,000. Really great thing, these have actually just been bumped up a bit for students who are applying for next year, so that's great. The scholarships will be even more valuable. This category in the middle, so special scholarships. These are scholarships that reward a certain talent, interest, passion that a student might have. These do require a separate application, or in some cases just really a separate interest form. We call this a candidate form, where you just fill out some basic information and you'll be considered for those. So these applications are not exhaustive by any means. Performing arts scholarships, These are for students who love being on stage, whether you're a drama, maybe you're a musician, maybe you sing, maybe you're behind the stage. These are participation scholarships. These scholarships can stack on top of a general merit scholarship, so that's great. Then we also have the language scholarship. These are for students who are really interested in languages, studying language. They know they're going to take at least 4 semesters of college level language. You should apply for one of those. The New Horizons Scholarship. This is an incredible program. It's for students who are committed to diversity, leadership, activism, inclusion. These are students where if those are things that are passions for you, you should apply for that program. And then the Bonner Scholars Program is for students with a strong commitment to community service and civic engagement. And again, that New Horizons program, the Bonner program, you know, there is not an exhaustive additional application for that. We would love for you to be considered by filling out a very short form. And then the final column there, the Premier Scholarships. These are the big dogs. These are our most valuable scholarships. They range from full tuition all the way up to full ride plus. These are incredible programs. Each of these programs recognizes 10 students per program per class. So of an incoming class of say 375 to 400 students, we'll have 30 students who come to center as part of one of these programs. The Brown Fellows Program is for students with a, who we think are going to be model scholars. These students are just kind of lights out academically. They're also great, well-rounded leaders and contributors to their school and local communities. The Grissom Scholars are students who are high-achieving first-generation college students. So if you are a first-gen student, and our definition of that is if whoever raised you did not have a 4-year college degree, then you're considered first-gen by Center College. And then the final program, the Lincoln Scholars Program, is for students who want to change the world. They have the capacity to do it. They've often shown incredible self-direction in working on an area of passion as a student. The Brown Fellows Program and the Lincoln Scholars Program do have a separate application. You can apply for those using the same applications. We tried to make that easy for you. You can do kind of a twofer on that application. All right, so outside scholarships. So there are so many outside scholarships out there. As a rule, your admission counselor is not there to direct you to these programs. However, your guidance counselor at your school can often be an incredible resource in figuring out kind of what outside scholarships could be available for you. So although we don't necessarily advise or assign these scholarships, they can absolutely be brought with you, and you can apply them to your center financial aid package. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Thank you all so much. And all right, it looks like my colleagues have been helping. Awesome, have been helping with some questions there on the chat. Great. So now I'm going to turn it over to Clay and some of our incredible students. Take it away, Clay. Thank you, guys.
Hello, you're most welcome. Great job, Annie. This is grateful information. Students, would you mind turning on your cameras and sound, please, so we can see your lovely faces? Nice, awesome. So, sorry, not all students, just center students, apologies. Should have been more direct. Thank you. So students, real quickly, before we dive into the panel, would you mind introducing yourselves for our group? I can call you out individually, so we can start with Ella.
All right, hi everybody. My name is Ella Aponte. I'm from a small town called Bedford, Kentucky. I'm a current junior, and I'm a biochemistry and molecular biology major.
Awesome. Princess?
Hello, everyone. My name is Princess Alute. I'm a senior at Center, and I'm an international student from Ghana. I am double majoring in maths and data science, and I'm minoring in education. For campus involvement, I'm part of the student judiciary, and I'm currently the president of Black STEM Coalition.
Luke?
Hi everyone, my name is Luke Martin. I'm a senior at Center from Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm majoring in biology and environmental studies, and I'm on the pre-med track at Center, so I'm currently in the medical school application process. A few of the things I'm involved in at Center, I'm also on student judiciary with Princess. I'm an SGA, which is Student Government Association. I'm an RA, and I'm associated with Center Ambassadors, and I'm also on the swim team.
Nice. Landy?
Hi, I'm Landy Len. I am a junior from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a behavior neuroscience major with a social justice minor. On campus, I am a Bonner, and I also, along with Princess, we're coordinating the Poverty and Homelessness Week events for this year.
Awesome. Last but not least, Gage.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Gage Hayden. I'm from Western Kentucky, Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm a sophomore here on campus. I haven't declared a major yet, but I intend to double major in math and econ and finance. And some things I'm involved on around campus is I'm a former football player, so if you're an athlete, you can just email me, gage.hayden@center.edu. And I'm also a part of Center First, a first-generation club here. I'm an RA, and then I'm also a part of the Investment Society.
Nice. Thank you so much. We're excited to hear about some of your center experiences. So diving into our panel, we're going to start out with some residential experiences. So Ella and Gage, you're both residence assistants and you're both facilitators in helping students build relationships with their hallmates. Being a highly residential college, what are some benefits of having everyone live together on campus? You guys can take over whenever you feel comfortable.
Yeah. I think one of the benefits is just really getting to know lots of different people that you might not necessarily meet if you're on a sports team with other students or in your classes. So I know being an RA, it's been a really great experience to just get to know a lot of my residents and learn about other things that are going on campus. It just fosters a really great community, and I'm really thankful that we have a primarily residential campus.
And going off of Ella, being on a residential campus is great. Like, you get to build relationships, and it's a lot easier to do that. You can meet up on a whim. So Center isn't a huge campus. Like, you're not going to spend more than 10 minutes walking from one corner to the other. So, like, if you just want to meet up on a whim and go get lunch or dinner or something, you can do that. Participating in clubs, sports, and other group activities is really easy because you're on campus, of course. And you always have that support system. So, like, being away from home can be kind of hard, but whenever you're in a highly residential campus like Center, having a support system on your hall is always good. So, like, I'm still in touch with my RA from last year, and I still talk to several people from my hall from last year. So I've noticed that's a big positive thing to take out of this too.
Yeah, thank you. Luke, you mentioned you're also an RA. Do you feel like there's a shift in energy displayed by students during the week going into the weekend, or is the vibe essentially the same?
Sure. Well, people at Center are very hard workers. We're all here to get this high quality, rigorous education. And so during the week, a lot of times you'll have this, everyone's just working their hardest, working on papers, homework, catching up on reading for classes. But once you want to reach the weekend, once you reach Friday afternoon, there's kind of this sigh of relief. People realize, okay, this is our chance to spend time with friends, and you're able to do that throughout the week as well. But over the weekend, there's kind of these, there are just more events on campus. A lot of times the Student Activities Council will try to organize events for students to get out and meet each other and just do some fun things, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's kind of been tough to have events across campus, but SAC, the Student Activities Council, has done a great job of planning events. Last night we were supposed to have a zip line on campus, and sadly I think the company that was coming, like, their car broke down or truck broke down or something, so that didn't pan out. But we've been having stuff like that on the weekends, and you can organize individual get-togethers with your friends. So it's definitely this kind of we get our work done, but we're also able to have fun while doing so.
Nice, thank you. And I believe there's going to be a silent disco tonight, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully you guys can take advantage of that later on. Speaking about that, so Princess and Landy, can you think of a campus activity that's unique to Center? Princess, you can
Okay,
go first if you like.
Okay, sure. I think this kind of connects with what Luke was saying. So that's, I know that Student Activities Council, SAC, plans a carnival every spring semester, if I'm not wrong. And I think that's one activity that's really special to Center, because I remember during one of those carnivals, I got to have fun with friends and also meet faculty. There was actually faculty and staff at that carnival, and I got to meet some faculty's kids. So that was really nice, being able to take a break from studying, but being able to also meet faculty in a non-academic setting. So that was a really nice experience.
Speaking of breaks from studying, so Center puts on, like, especially during finals week, they put on a midnight breakfast, and this is also around the holidays. So the professors and staff and faculty, they go around caroling. So it's a nice break from finals. You get donuts at midnight and you get a free show. And then you go back to studying. But I think that's pretty unique, and it's a good break.
Sure. I remember I fully took advantage of the midnight breakfast whenever I was studying for finals. It was a great break in between the studying and just a great break in and of itself. So let's dive into some residence life. We've already known that Center has a huge sense of community on campus and forming lifelong friendships, but sometimes you may find yourself befriending someone who you would have never expected. So Gage and Princess, could you tell us of someone who you've befriended that you never would have guessed? And what would you think was the driving force behind this friendship that may have not have happened elsewhere? We can start with Gage.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So there's this guy named Joey that I met last year, and he's really involved around campus. Like, he's that model center student that you want to see. And I actually met him during my center term class. So, of course, center term, that's, just center. And it was weekly trips to Lexington that really made us hit it off and whatnot. So the class was the global refugee crisis. So once a week, we would go to Lexington and teach these citizenship classes to refugees. And he was our driver. He volunteered as a group leader, and he would drive us to Lexington. And I think just these trips is what really set our friendship up. And without Center, that definitely wouldn't have been possible. Like, I hardly ever see him around campus because he's so busy. But activities such as Center Term allow us to do that.
Nice. Princess?
Yeah, I think I would say Wana, if you guys know Wana, because she works at admissions. And I think that was, I would simply say that I met her because of Center's general education curriculum. So with Center, you don't need to declare your major until the spring semester of your sophomore year. So I was kind of like exploring to see what major I'd want to declare. So I took a chemistry class and I met Wana there. And we are still lifelong friends because we got to have interactions on the subject and we got to learn together. Even though I did not become a chemistry major, I got to meet Wana by taking that class, which was required for gen ed. So.
Nice, awesome. And it's great that you bring up some academics settings that Center students find themselves in. So that's a great segue into our next segment. So Ella and Landy, how are the classes here? Like, is there a common denominator amongst all Center students when it comes to the academics being taught?
I know the general attitude in a lot of my classes has been the same, put in a lot of hard work, have a lot of great discussion with your peers, and typically you'll get a lot out of the class. But other than that, I've had a lot of different experiences just with the way the class is set up. So from philosophy to organic chemistry, just like kind of the feeling in the classroom is always a little bit different. But in every class that I've taken, I've always been met with really interesting peers to have discussions with and great professors that are really dedicated to their students.
Yeah, I agree. I think because Center does have pretty small classes, we cap it at 30 students. A lot of my classes, even the ones that are like more STEM classes, we still do a bunch of discussions and we still really value participation. And that really comes in handy when you do lab classes because you need to know your classmates. So it's a good way to make friendships and it's a good way to build relationships. But I do think that a lot of the classes, the most common denominator would probably be just the professors. Like their office hours are pretty easy, pretty accessible, even in the pandemic. They've been very accessible. Like I can call them. I have some of them on speed dial, you know. Yeah, so I think it's that close relationship with the professors. And like Ella just said, you get out what you put in. So you put in the effort, you'll get the grade.
So that was a great segue, or a great example of what center faculty and staff members have. So you're not going to be a number in the classroom. The faculty and staff members are going to know who you are, the goals you wish to achieve, and how to get you in positions to achieve those goals. So Luke and Gage, can you provide an example of guidance or mentoring experience you've had with a faculty or staff member? And you are more than likely, or more than welcome to be specific about a particular person if you'd like.
Sure, I can go first with this. So when you mentioned, or when Landy mentioned the professor element at Center, that's something that I don't think can be overstated. The professors here are just quite simply some of my favorite people. I think Center has some really unique professors that are really invested in your life. And when you talk about mentors or you know, advisors, who comes to mind for me is Dr. Palmy, the pre-med advisor at Center. So she is she works so hard for not just me, but all of the other pre-med students at Center. And there's a decent amount of us. So it's a lot of work on her end to, you know, perform an interview from Center to kind of form our committee letter for medical school. She's writing those committee letters of recommendation or evaluation for medical schools. But she also is just incredibly encouraging in that process. You know, I had her for organic chemistry, the first semester of organic chemistry, which is not exactly the most fun class. It's kind of a difficult class, but just the fact of, or how encouraging she was throughout that process, and then also through pre-med, it has just made a world of difference to me. And then when you consider that, like, I've also been to New Zealand with Dr. Palmy. She teaches a class on volcanology with a fellow organic chemistry professor, Dr. Workman. And so having that shared experience with her, I was hiking with her almost every day in New Zealand up these volcanoes. You know, I went whitewater rafting with her and had to help her back into our raft when she fell out of it and into the whitewater. So when you have those shared experiences, those very intimate associations with your professors, and they get to know you very well and get to know what your passions are and what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, they can really help you along the way. And that's made a world of difference for me, especially as a pre-med student.
Sure. Nice. Gage?
All right, so I'm not a senior. I'm just a sophomore, so I'm still pretty new here too. But for me, a specific professor that's really given me guidance is Dr. Perry in the econ department. He brings dry humor and a ton of energy to every class that he teaches. And that's my goal in life. Like, I want to be passionate about what I'm doing. And you can tell this man means business when he's in the classroom, but he loves to have a good time. I went to his office hours almost like daily, it seems like. And it wasn't even to talk about class all the time. And that's what made office hours so fun for me during my time with his class. And not only did he help with the course material, but he also helped me with setting up my 4 or 5 year plan with what I want to do, and as far as setting up internships and where to apply, because he was actually an actuary, and that's what I'm interested in. And he's one of the very few people that I've ever met that was an actual actuary. So he's given me some point people, and he's been my mentor at this point in helping me find resources to accommodate those needs. So I would definitely meet Dr. Perry if you're ever on campus. He's a great guy.
Good deal. I love it. And really quickly, some of y'all have mentioned a course called Center Term. And Center Term is just one class for 3 weeks in the month of January. And you really get to dive into specific subjects. So could you all really quickly mention your favorite Center Term class? I know, Gage, you've only taken one, but hopefully it was a good one. But just real quickly, what was your favorite class? Princess, you can go first.
I think my center term class back home to Ghana, where I took a class on education in Ghana.
Nice. Gage? Oh, he may have froze. Landy, you can go real quick.
I think my favorite one was my sophomore year one. It's an art history class, but it was all about folklore. So we analyzed different parts of culture, and we visited nearby Shaker Village, which is a Shaker society. It's the only one left, like kind of in this area. Yeah, it was really cool. Saw a lot of museums too.
So Luke, really quickly.
Yeah, I'd have to say the New Zealand course that I mentioned, where we examined how volcanoes kind of shaped the geography of New Zealand, was really special.
For sure. Awesome. So center students are awfully involved. There's a lot of different opportunities that you can find yourself being active on the center campus, and some of that is sports. So Luke, what have you enjoyed most about being a part of a team here, and how has that shaped your center experience?
Well, so I mentioned I'm on the swim team, and some of my closest friends, a lot of my closest friends, I've developed through athletics at center, particularly with the swim team on center. And one of the things I appreciate the most is just a sense of camaraderie that is developed among you and your fellow teammates. You know, you're all in it together, and that applies to the sport, of course, but it also applies to your academics. Going back to the whole residential community element of center, you're all living together, and so there's not this sense of like competitiveness between students here. I've often just really felt that there's a strong support system among students, and I really feel that among my swim team, with my teammates on the swim team, but that extends to pretty much all areas of center life as well.
For sure. Nice. And something also that's special about being a part of a Division III sports team is that no one's competing for a scholarship, so everyone's playing for the love of the sport. And I played football here, surprisingly, so I think that added more appreciation to the sport, and also just better competitiveness amongst the sports teams as well. So Ella, can you quickly talk about your involvement with Greek life and how it may be different here compared to other campuses?
Yeah, sure. So I actually rushed as an upperclassman, which is a little bit different of an experience, but it was really great overall. I think something really special about Center's Greek life is how small it is. I know the stereotypical image of Greek life is like huge houses with all of these sorority sisters or fraternity brothers, and it could be perceived as a little bit superficial sometimes and just kind of surface level, and not really, you don't really necessarily make super deep connections with people, but that could not be more untrue about Center Greek life. In my short time in Greek life at Center, I've made so many great friendships and met so many amazing people, and we're all really dedicated to our philanthropy organizations that each chapter at Center has. And overall, it's just a really great experience. You get to know a lot of amazing people, not just in the chapter that you become a part of, but in every chapter.
Nice. Great experience. And something important about our Greek life here is that we do spring rush during your first year. So you don't have to feel rushed into joining any of the fraternities or sororities that we have. You have enough time to build those relationships and see even if you want to dive into that experience. So it's a great transition of just meeting people overall. So, Landy, being a Bonner Scholar, you're actively involved in service organizations. So, how would you describe the campus culture when it comes to engaging with the Danville community and seeking those opportunities as far as service or philanthropy?
Yeah, so I would say that it's community service, philanthropy in general is pretty normalized at Center. I don't think you would find a single student who hasn't been part of any project, because I know Greek life is super involved. We even have a Greek fraternity, service fraternity. We've also got various clubs around campus, so you don't have to be in like a scholarship program to do service. So yeah, it's very normalized. And then so usually every year we have the fall service plunge, where all the first years kind of get their first glimpse into Danville, especially if you're new around here. And it's a great way to get to know the community, but also a way to help kind of do a small project just to start it off. And then we also have like an office of community service if you're interested in getting even more involved, I can also help you with that. So yeah, I would say it's very normalized, very rare if you don't get involved. So if you have any questions about volunteer or community service at all, feel free to reach out to me.
Nice, thank you. And if you guys haven't noticed, majority of the students here during our panel are all leaders of one way or another while they're on campus. So there's a lot of great opportunities to find yourself leading a group of people, or at least being a part of a group where you can seek those leadership opportunities. As I've said, center students are awfully involved with everything, whether it be academics or extracurriculars. So there's great opportunities for you to grow as a leader while you're here on campus. Really quickly, Gage, how do you think Center has helped with you grow as a leader? I know you're labeled as one, being an RA, so how do you think that's helped you?
Of course. This is kind of a tough one because I came in as just a football player, and that was like a huge leadership position for me in high school as captain on my team and whatnot. And I realized very quickly that there's a lot more to offer here than just athletics. And I stepped away from football at the end of my first year of college, and I started taking on more important to me, anyways, more important roles, such as the RA position, and then even the treasurer of our first gen group, Center First. And these clubs have made me realize that I can lead off the field just as I could on the field. So it's just made me, I've grown as a leader in the aspect that I can do it off of a team now. I don't have to be a part of a team to be a leader. I can lead in any and everyday life circumstances. And I don't know, that's about all I got. It's a tough one for me.
That was perfect. I promise you that. That was perfect. So thank you all so much for shining light on your life as a Center student. I know that you guys just got wrapped up with finishing your finals for Block 1, so best of luck as you enter Block 2. Really quickly, you don't have to describe the word that you use, and you don't have to use a definition, but could you just give one word that would describe Center for you? And I can call you off individually. So Princess, just one word.
Opportunity.
Nice. Gage?
All right, for all the prospective students, goated.
Landy?
Growth.
Growth. Luke?
Enrichment.
Enrichment. And last but not least, Ella.
Home.
Home. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'm going to pass the floor to my fellow colleague and friend, Cody Cook, who will dive into some.
All right. Thanks, Clay, and all of our students, amazing students, all members of our scholarship community, but leaders within and beyond their scholarship programs. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Cody Cook, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admission and Scholarship Coordinator here at Center. So I mentioned that I do have territories, and I work with students in particular counties in Kentucky, but I also have the privilege of working with all of our scholarship applicants and helping them through the process. Annie Murphy mentioned in her financial aid presentation earlier today that we have a variety of scholarship programs and a variety of scholarship opportunities. And I just want to reemphasize some of those things and also clarify a bit about that scholarship application process, because there are so many scholarships. We don't want you to be confused or lost when you're trying to apply to those. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. As Annie mentioned, some of our scholarship opportunities have candidate forms. Some of our scholarship opportunities have applications. And some of our scholarship opportunities only require the Common App. So I've listed here, and I'll use my cursor, we have a few opportunities that utilize a candidate form. And our candidate form programs are the Bonner Program, the New Horizons Program, and the Performing Arts Scholarship. So at any point, you can go in, just submit some basic information, and we will read your common application for these scholarship opportunities. You don't need to submit any additional recommendations. You don't need to submit any additional written responses. Again, we'll use your Common App to kind of score and read and review your application for these programs. Programs that require an additional application are our Brown Fellows program and our Lincoln Scholars program. Both of those are premier scholarship programs, and they actually have the same application. So what's really simple is you can go in and you can apply for both the Brown Fellows program and the Lincoln Scholars program at the same time if you find interest in both of those programs and those opportunities. And then lastly, our language scholarship program requires an additional application so that our faculty members can score your written competency within those programs and those opportunities. The two programs or the two opportunities that require no additional application whatsoever, solely the Common App, are our general merit scholarships. As Annie mentioned, we'll review you and assign you, if you qualify for a general merit scholarship, as we're reading your Common App. And then the Grissom Scholars Program, which is our program that serves first-generation students at Center College. For the candidate forms and the application for scholarships, our final application for all of those forms, I just want to give a caveat. This is not for admission, this is for scholarship. Our final application for our scholarship forms and applications is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, February 1st, 2021. Does that mean you should wait until 11:30 p.m. on Monday, February 1st, 2021 to complete it? Probably not, but we will review all of the scholarship applications received before midnight. And there is not any perk or any sort of incentive to submit it earlier. So we get that question quite a bit. If I submit my application earlier, will I have priority consideration or something along those lines? We recommend that you complete the process as early as possible just for your sanity, but ultimately there's no incentives or no priority consideration for those that submit it earlier in the process. And then something that I'm really excited for this year is that all of our programs, our general merit programs, our premier scholarship programs, and our special scholarship programs are test optional. So you do not need to submit your test scores, your ACT or SAT test scores, to be considered or to compete for these special premier or general merit scholarship opportunities. We do have a scholarships webpage, center.edu/scholarships, that has all of this information. So feel free to go and explore that page at any point. But if you do get confused, you have additional questions, you would like to talk to a scholarship student or one of the directors or mentors of our programs, please feel free to reach out to me. My information is on the screen, or email admission@center.edu, and we will be happy to give you any information that you need to make an informed decision and to submit your applications. I am going to now pass the mic over to Pam Boffman, our Associate Dean and Director of Admission. Thanks, Pam.
Great, thank you, Cody. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed visiting with my colleagues and hearing from our students during this afternoon. These are some really impressive people, and I get really energized when I hear our students speak about their experience. While we certainly wish we were hosting you on campus, we're so grateful that you made the effort to connect with us today. College applications open doors. They open doors to opportunity and a wealth of possibility. At Center, we take that a step further. Not only will you have a variety of opportunities to consider, but we open doors to accomplished faculty who share a deep dedication and passion to teach, mentor, and collaborate with students. A rich liberal arts tradition with high caliber academic offerings, a culture that embraces curiosity, creativity, problem solving, and exploration. A valuable emphasis on global citizenship and engagement, and what that means in an ever-changing world. A competitive edge for career planning and higher levels of academic study. A broad network of Center loyalists who are eager to support your growth during both undergraduate years and beyond. A vibrant and beautiful campus which nurtures a rewarding residential experience. A compassionate, diverse, inclusive, and caring community. Lasting relationships that are treasured for years to come. And fertile ground to cultivate student leaders in their academic, extracurricular, and personal pursuits. So I invite you today to further explore your opportunities at Center. We're eager to receive your application and to learn more about your college ambitions. So even though the college process may involve a more creative approach than expected, know that we share in your excitement as you imagine the possibilities. So good luck to you and your families, and thank you again for spending your Saturday with Center. Lauren, I hand it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam, and thank you to everyone again for spending your afternoon with us. We are so thankful. We are going to take a 2-minute break before our optional virtual guided tour with 2 awesome tour guides. I'm really excited for them to get to show you around campus. But if you need to grab a drink or use the restroom, we're just going to take a short break and we'll be back here in just a second. See you then.
One more minute of your wasted time. You look like it's all fine. And all the years I gave you, thinking you knew that you wanted me. I wanted to believe I'll make a destination. Where I belong. This time I've got no hesitation. I'll be moving on. Moving on. I'm tired of trying to describe what you will never see. How we could be. Gave up and lost it. Now you're looking for a little grace. Well, look at my face. I gotta make a destination. Where I belong. There ain't no time for hesitation. I'll be moving on.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint here in a second. All right, welcome everyone to our virtual tour. My name is Race. I'm a senior here at Center College. I'm a double major in international relations and economics. I also swim here on campus, and I obviously give tours. I'm involved in a lot of other things, in SGA, other environmental clubs, and various other clubs. Margaret will introduce herself now.
I'm Margaret. I'm a sophomore. I'm a potential politics and data science double major. I'm involved in Greek life. I'm on the cheer team, and I'm involved with religious and political life on campus as well.
All right, so we're gonna try to get this wrapped up by 4, and feel free to ask questions in the chat. Margaret will be watching the chat, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. So let's jump on into it. So, Old Center, it's the original Center College building, built back in 1819. Everything was housed back there. You had students eat, sleep, classes, professors had their office hours in there. Now it's our admissions office, and our welcome center. In front of the old center, you will see our seal. On our seal is our school motto, Doctrinus Lacmentis. That is Latin for learning is the light of the mind. We have a taboo about the seal. We don't step on it. It's bad luck. You'll fail a test or flunk out, something like that. It's just a little taboo we have. I also like to say you kind of start and end your center career here at Old Center. When you come as a freshman, you go through what's called orientation week. That's when all the freshmen on campus get oriented and acclimated to campus before the rest of us move in. At the end of orientation week, you'll go with your orientation group and leader. You'll take pictures at the Old Center, and then you'll walk over to Newland Hall where you'll be inducted officially as a center student. Then at the end of your 4 years, you'll have dinner at the president's house. You'll be given a coin or a token of the seal with the motto on it, and you're supposed to give that to someone who's had an impact to you here on campus. And then you step on the seal, somewhat ironically, and then you walk to Newland and you graduate, and you're graduated. All right, we'll move on. So right in front of Old Center is Festival Lawn. This is a great place to hang out. We have our iconic tree swing there. We host festivals. I think Holi's, which is a Hindu holiday, is celebrated over here. We throw like colored powder at each other. It's a lot of fun. So I'll let Margaret handle Wall Street and Greek Row.
Walnut Street is pretty much the main road in campus. It's where we do Expo, which is at the beginning of the year. It's an activity fair. It's a lot of fun. Every club comes out, and it's when you kind of sign up and learn more about clubs. My suggestion is always to sign up for a bunch, see which ones you actually want to be in, and then commit to those. Further down on Walnut Street is DPS. They're housed in the Walnut House. And DPS is Department of Public Safety. They're awesome. They're super helpful. Love them. And on the side, you'll see spray painted C6HO. So I guess in the early 1900s, is that correct? Yeah.
It's like 1910, I think.
Yeah. Center played Harvard in football, which was a big deal, and we actually beat them by 6 points. So that was spray painted all over campus, and this is the only place where it still is. The warehouse is also on Walnut Street. It's at the very end. This is where all the scholarships are, and it's pretty much a social space. It's really awesome. It's a great place to study. There's occasionally movie nights there, or different speakers will come to the warehouse, and then upstairs is where all the offices are. It's a
really good study space, actually. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great. So as I mentioned, I'm in Greek life, and I think you heard a little bit earlier about how we do rush in the spring. So I rushed as a freshman, and it was amazing. I have had a really positive experience, and one of the things I like most about it is how tight-knit everybody is. It really doesn't matter what organization you end up joining, because everybody in Greek life is going to talk to you, is going to be friends with you. It's kind of like one big, giant, happy family. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, and about 50% of campus is affiliated. So like, for example, I'm not affiliated, but Margaret is. And it doesn't really affect much. Like, I have friends in every fraternity and sorority, and I go to all their events, and they're all a lot of fun. I know the sororities will have like pancake nights and stuff like that to kind of raise money for other things, but also you get like pancakes at 12 o'clock at night, and it's really great. So can't really complain. So Olin Hall, right now Olin Hall is under construction. So we're getting a new Olin Hall, but it's just one of our academic buildings. I like to say that our academic buildings have themes to them. And if we were on a real tour, we would go inside and see these themes, but I'll just explain it to you. So Olin Hall tends to be our math, science, chemistry kind of themed building. This is because it has a lot of computer labs, chemistry labs, and I believe a lot of the math professors do classes and have offices here. But just because our buildings have themes to them, and I'll talk about the other themes to the other buildings, You'll have classes of every variety in every building, so you're not going to be isolated with all the econ majors are stuck in Olin Hall or something like that. I've had econ classes in Olin. I've had language, religion, all that kind of stuff. So they're really just themes to the buildings. So these pictures are of Old Quad. This is the older section of campus. It's really not that much older than New Quad, but we have a lot of outdoor classrooms here. You can see our former president's motto, do your best, be your best, no regrets. That's plastered all over campus, and it's really great advice. All right.
So JVAC, Jones Visual Arts Center, is where pretty much all of our art classes happen, and it's also where our glass blowing studio is. We're fairly well known for glass blowing, among many other things, but JVAC is a really great place, even just to go and study. I mean, obviously primarily art majors will be in there, but anybody is welcome, and there's normally some sort of really neat exhibit towards the front.
So this is Young Hall. So like I said, all our buildings kind of have themes to them, and you can see we have a giant fossil. I don't know what it's actually called, but we have this massive fossil collection that was donated to us by friends of the college, and all the paleontology and biology students get to play with the really fun fossils in the back. But Olin Hall is, you'll have classes of, like I said, every variety. I think between Olin Hall, I keep saying Olin, Young Hall and the library are two of the most like major places to study, and it really just depends on the environment you enjoy. So Young Hall tends to be a little cooler, quieter, and better suited for individual work because there's a lot of nooks and crannies you can kind of hide yourself into. And then the library, somewhat ironically, is a little warmer and a little louder. But that's just the way it's worked out. So it really just depends on your study style and where you like to study. So these aren't the only study places. Every dorm has study rooms, and every other place is open like 24 hours.
Another cool thing about Young Hall is the floor has fossils in it. So
Yes.
so some of the tiles do, and they're kind of random. And whenever I walk in there, I always try not to step on the fossils.
All right, so this is our flame. This is the physical representation of our motto, Doctrinus Luc Mentis, learning is the light of the mind. So this is the light of the mind. It was donated to us back in 1969 by a pair of alums. Now we have our Abe Lincoln statue. So you might be wondering why we have an Abe Lincoln statue. There's a little lore and backstory to it. So first off, our former president, P. Roush, really admired Abraham Lincoln, would often quote him. And then the second part, there's a story behind it. So the way the story goes is when Abe Lincoln was a young man, he wanted to be a blacksmith. So he went to his friend John Todd Stewart saying, hey, I want to be a blacksmith. And John Todd Stewart saw the potential in Abraham Lincoln and said, no, you need to practice law. Here, take my law books and go practice law. Well, those law books came from our library, Grace Dorothy Library, and John Todd Stewart was an alum of the college. And later his, John Todd Stewart is related to Mary Todd Stewart, his wife. So cool little connection there.
Crowns Hall is where the library is. So the library, it's kind of like a donut. The library is in the hole and Crowns is around it. So Crowns has a ton of faculty offices and a few different classrooms. And the library obviously has all of our books and has a lot of cute little study rooms, comfortable couches, some really nice stuff. Right now they're renovating it and they're putting in a like a learning center that's going to be, from my understanding, sensory friendly, suited for group work. It's just going to be a really awesome space to hang out. And in the basement is where I think the proctoring center and the writing center normally are. And those are two really great resources that we have on campus.
Also, it's a great opportunity to talk to about office hours. So a majority of professors' offices are held on the fourth floor of Crowns. And professors are required to have office hours every day. It's just a time section during the day that they're available inside their office for questions. And like the last group explained, we have a very close connection with our professors. I believe the ratio is about 1 to 10. That ratio just, it really depends on what classes you're taking. So for general education courses, you're getting like more like 30 size people. And then once you get into your major requirements and those higher level courses, you start seeing more closer to like 10. Like I've had classes with 5, and which is great because you get a really personal, in-depth experience with your professor, but also they know when you're missing. So if you've slept in, they know where you've slept in. And we've had professors in the past find out where a student is staying, taken the whole class to their room and had class in their dorm room while they're waking up. So freshmen don't oversleep. All right, the center arch. So on a typical tour, we'd be walking past the library right now and heading towards Sutcliffe, which is our athletic building. So this arch is supposed to represent the bridge between athletics and academics. So we have about 40% of the campus who are student athletes. That really just tells you how doable it is to be an athlete and then still be successful academically here at Center. Oh, I went backwards, sorry. So this is Sutcliffe Hall. It's our athletic building. We have several different facilities inside. We have the gym, which is like free weights and cardio at the top. It's a 2-floor gym. We also have an indoor track in Hazelrig Gym, which is a multi-purpose gym where we host a lot of events. Right now, it's our socially distant cafeteria, but we've hosted dodgeball tournaments, basketball, intramural sports, badminton tournaments, you name it, we've done it. So, and Sutcliffe is open to all students. You don't have to be an athlete to get in. And I believe the gym also hosts like classes for people who aren't used to like working out all the time. Also here we have one of our 3 dining options, Sandella's. It's kind of like your healthy food option on campus. So it's like your wraps, your salad bowls, best coffees in campus here. So pro tip there.
So our Center for Global Citizenship is basically where you go anytime you need help finding a place to study abroad. I have not studied abroad yet because you can't go as a freshman, and I was planning to this year, but COVID, so I'm not. They're all really awesome there, and they'll even help you find a different program if there's not one that Center normally does that you're interested in. It's staffed with some really great people.
Yeah, so global citizenship. So we have several different options for study abroad. So there's about 3 different options. So we have a summer term, which is 3 weeks during the summer. Great for athletes who don't typically get to study abroad, or it's hard to study abroad during the semesters. Then we also have semesters abroad. So that's fall and spring. That's like a 4-month term. And the price of that study abroad is included in your tuition, so you won't have to pay any additional costs beyond airfare and if you want to buy stuff there. And then we also have center term, and the group before us talked a little bit about center term, and I believe Luke mentioned doing a center term in New Zealand, doing volcanology. We have tons of options like that, not just in New Zealand. Every year it's cycling like with 10 or 12 different places. People are going to Fiji, Tahiti, Belize, all different places. It's a really great experience. So I've studied abroad once. I spent 7 months last year in China. Not too great now, but it was a great experience and I would definitely do it again. Is this, someone's blocking, sorry. Okay, this is career and professional development. All right, sorry. Y'all's pictures were in the way. So this is the CCPD, or Center for Career and Professional Development. It's one of the most important offices on campus, I think, because it's a great resource for students to find internships, research opportunities, or future jobs. The way the CCPD does this is through what's called the Center Mafia, which is basically just a network of Center alums who come back to Center looking for new recruits or new hires, or just giving opportunities to Center students. They sent out a weekly like a weekly email saying about who's coming to campus for what. So it's a really great opportunity to find something you might be interested in.
So Norton Center is our hub for the arts at Center. Their Newland Hall is located here, and that's the big picture in the right. So that's where like opening convocation is held, where freshmen officially become Center students. It's where Founders Day is held. There's so many things going on there all the time. What's really cool about Norton is they regularly have some really cool, fun traveling groups in, like Smash Mouth, but they're all totally free to students. You just reserve tickets ahead of time, and then you show up with your center ID and you can get in. It's awesome. There's also a lot of convocations in Newland, the bigger ones, which, so I don't know if you've talked about convocations, but they're basically talks held by visitors to get you outside of your major comfort zone. So I'm a politics and data science major. So one of the convocations that I went to was on a monastery. And I would never have known about monasteries if I didn't go to that one, and it was really great. We have to get 12 a year, but they're not hard to get at all.
Yeah, they're also really fun. We've had some really cool ones. We've had Tibetan monks come in to do ceremonies. I think Yo-Yo Ma's played here before. We have some really cool guests come and speak to us. All right, so this is the campus center, the center of campus, I guess. So this is also where we have our main dining hall. So we call it Cowan. Cowan, it's like a buffet style, all you can eat. They have different stations, so you always have pizza, you always have burgers. Then there's in the center, you have like a rotating kind of made to order line, and then there's a classics line, which is kind of like your traditional home cooked foods. And then we also have vegan and vegetarian options, and also a allergy free line. So if you have an allergy, that line's pretty good at catering to you. And if it doesn't cater to you, you can email the staff, and for the rest of your time here on campus, they will also make sure it caters to you. Also in the campus center, we have another one of our dining options. It's called the Hall of Fame Cafe. Oh wait, no, sorry. It's called the Everyday Cafe. But we're in college and we don't call anything by its actual name. So we call it the Grill, because it's your greasy foods, your burgers, your fries, and your mod sticks. And your sodas, all that kind of great stuff. It's open to about 1 or 2 in the morning, which is really great when you've procrastinated work to about that time, and you need a little pick-me-up before you do that final run in. All right. So here's our dining hall. We have several different meal plans. So the way it works, it's a balance between flex and swipes. So swipes get you into Cowan, and flex is on-campus currency that you can use at the other 2 dining options. So we have a 7, a 10, a 14, and an unlimited, and that basically just means how many times you can swipe into Cowan a week. And with more swipes, you're going to get less flex, and with less swipes, you're going to get more flex. So traditionally at Cowan, if you can kind of see along this this left wall, we would usually be hanging banners. This is kind of like the Center College's bulletin board for what's going on campus. So if a club's hosting an event, if a frat's hosting a party, it's all going to be advertised and registered through Student Life and advertised here. So I get the question a lot in tours, what's going on in Danville? Well, we host like over 200 different events here on campus. So there's always something going on. So one of the other things in the campus center is our intercultural suite. This is just a safe space for people to go and relax or do homework. It's a really beautiful study space. They have nice couches. We have these, you can kind of see it in this bar picture on the left, we have nice stained glass windows. It's just a very nice space. And in the middle, you can see what I was talking about at the start of the tour with celebrating Holi at the festival lawn. All right.
What you've all been waiting for, residence halls. How do we live? So 98% of campus lives on campus, which is really, really nice because we all get to know each other really well. It is a small school. And the majority of dorms are traditional 2-person to a room in a hall with a communal bathroom. And honestly, that is not bad at all. It's very fun. You get really close with everybody you live with. But we also have suite style dorms, like Pearl is pictured here. And so there you'll have 4 or 5 people living in a suite together. There's also Brock, which is townhome-like, and Northside, which is like massive suites. So you might have 16 people in a pod. There's also a few different houses where you can live more in a traditional apartment, but you're still on campus. And they're all really great. They all have study rooms in them. And actually some of the basements have classrooms right now, since Olin is closed, which is actually pretty cool that just like every part of campus is always involved in what's going on.
Oh, I should have been moving through these. All right, so here's some pictures about in residence halls. So right here we have, this is Brockman Commons. Right now I'm in a Brockman, but I have this background so you can't see what my room looks like. What else do we have here? Here are some so these are some other on-campus, these aren't housing, these are just administration buildings. So you have the Horkey House and the Chestnut House. Okay, and then we can kind of talk about how we came to Center. So I'll let Margaret go first. About her story why Center, I guess.
Yeah, so Center, I wouldn't call it a family school, but my cousin did go to Center and met her husband there. And originally I did not want to go to Center. I only applied to get her to stop talking about how I should go to Center because I thought she was being ridiculous and overbearing and just a crazy cousin, right? But I ended up touring. I toured I think April of my senior year, probably 2 weekends before I had to actually decide where I was gonna go to college. And I just loved it. As soon as I got on campus, I could feel that everybody really wanted to be there and was really working hard to be the best versions of themselves. As we passed professors on our campus tour, they would wave to our tour guides, and everybody just kind of knew each other. And it was just a really special place. And I knew that I wanted to go there. I literally woke up the next morning and put my deposit in. Like I was totally certain. And I know that I made the right decision now that I'm here. Every day I'm grateful that I'm a Center student, and I'm grateful that I didn't choose the other college that I was looking at, because I just think Center is so much better.
All right, that's an awesome story. So I'm from Danville, sort of. I went to high school here, so I'm a bit of a townie. So when I was applying for colleges, I applied to tons of different places, a lot about out of state. I was looking for more opportunities, and also I did want to swim. So the way I did it, and what I highly recommend when you're going through your college search, and might be a little difficult now, is doing overnight stays. This is a great opportunity to kind of see what campus life is really like, because here, at least here on Center's campus, you'll be paired with a student. You'll go to some classes with them, you go eat with them, you'll spend basically the whole day with them and kind of see what the Center life is really like. I did 3 of those when I was coming in, and I also did it at all the other schools I applied. And what really set Center out from the other schools is really just the community. I found people here that like really connected to me and really cared about like what I thought and what I was considering. And then when I came here, I made lifelong friends. Like I would be a completely different person if I went anywhere else. And I was a completely different person when I came to Center. When I came to Center, I was very quiet. I would not be talking in front of a bunch of people right now. But it kind of like, college is kind of the time to reinvent yourself and become who you want to be. And Center gives you the opportunities to do that. Your only job is to seize the opportunity. All right, so we have time for like questions. So if anybody has questions in the chat or something like that, I'll let Margaret call them out and we'll try to answer them.
The only question we really have is, what does a freshman dorm look like? So I did answer in the chat, but I'll go ahead and just talk about it. They're not huge, but you can lay them out in a lot of different ways to maximize the space. There's 2 beds, 2 dressers, 2 desks, 2 closets, and the beds can all, I'm pretty sure all of the beds can be bunked if that's what you're interested in, and they can all be lifted so you can use the space underneath for storage.
Yeah, your freshman dorm is pretty much like your typical dorm, but every year kind of expected to get upgraded. You kind of just got to do your time as a freshman. Yeah. It can be really nice if you set it up. I've seen some really nice freshman dorms.
Okay, so do students go to the sporting events, music performances, or other activities?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Like when football's in season, football stadium's always packed and it's fun to go to. What's really cool, the sports teams will go support each other. So like the swim team will go see the volleyball team play or the soccer team play, and we'll go cheer on, being a big student section for them, and they'll come see our stuff, and we have this big back and forth. I know the music stuff and the music programs and the theater programs are always packed. Like, they're always really great.
Also with the music performances, with choir, orchestra, and theater, all of those also count as convocations. So you can go see your friends, do what they love, and get credit for it.
Yes.
Okay. Have you guys been able to do anything since the pandemic? I'm not on campus, so I'll let Race answer that.
Yeah, so so SAC, which is like our Student Activities Council, has been hosting a lot of things and trying to do events that are socially distanced and smart, but still like fun. I believe today they're hosting a spike ball tournament, which is pretty fun. You go with a partner. It's kind of like table tennis meets throwing a ball on a trampoline. We've had other events. We did, I believe, a movie on the lawn that was socially distanced. I haven't been to too many because I've been working because I'm a senior and I got grad school to deal with. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. And plus, hanging out with your roommates is a lot of fun too.
Also, I think I've gotten some texts from different organizations. They've been going around campus in like golf carts, giving off little goodies and stuff.
Oh
so
yeah, we got a whole bake sheet of brownies the other day because some sorority had like made too many. So we got a whole bake sheet of brownies.
Okay. During summer, does Center have a place for out-of-state students to keep things? So I think there's some storage on campus, but they do have agreements with storage facilities nearby for discounted rates for Center students.
Yeah, I actually have a storage unit, not with Center, just like one close by, and I live in town. So yeah, they're pretty cheap. And I think for like 2 months, it's like, can't be over like $40.
I got a question about the cheer team, but I'll just answer about athletics generally. One of the cool things is that your coach is also technically one of your advisors, and they're all really interested in you as a person and making sure that you're balancing your classes and your practices. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, like Margaret said, all the coaches and the athletic department knows academics comes first. On the swim team, we have our saying, academics first, family second, and then athletics. So I think it's everyone has a pretty good understanding there.
Do you know if there are on-campus visits this school year yet?
Not yet. We have to meet certain parameters for COVID, and I don't know if we've met them yet or we're still holding off. I don't exactly know. That's a better question for someone who's in administrations.
I just popped in. We are doing on-campus visits, actually. We're doing them one family at a time. They're socially distanced and masked, but they are on our website. So we're looking to expand those, hopefully going further in the fall, but we are doing those. And if you don't find a time on our website, email your admission counselor and we can help you get that set up too.
Okay.
Sorry to pop in. Thank you.
No, that's perfect. I didn't know.
Yeah. I just wanted to thank Race and Margaret so much for doing a student-led tour for us and for answering questions. Thank you so much for taking the time. And if you all have more questions for the two of them, know that you can email me, lauren.samuelson@center.edu, and I can get you all connected to them too. But I know we're running close to the end of time, so I just wanted, if we could wrap up, Race and Margaret, could you tell us your favorite center tradition or favorite center event? I know it's hard, there's so many ones, but could you think of your favorite? I like talking about center traditions all the time, so I was just curious if you all had a favorite one that you wanted to share.
Favorite center event? Air guitar is pretty fun. So air guitar is one of the fraternities will host like an air guitar tournament. It's just bunch of people pretending like they're playing instruments very obnoxiously, and it's very fun. And it's just the whole campus kind of comes out and just relaxes and de-stresses.
Awesome. It's very fun.
My favorite center tradition is midnight breakfast before finals week, where the professors serve us breakfast. It's just a lot of fun, and it's a great way to bond before finals, and it really shows how much the professors care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Race, if you go to the last slide on this presentation, I think it has, I was just going to wrap up again to say thank you guys so much for joining us today for our virtual open house. And thank you again to Race and Margaret for joining us. I know you have just a couple days off before Block 2 begins, so thank you for spending your afternoon with us as well. But just so our prospective students know, we would love for you to follow along with us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and we've got some
sorry.
Yeah, we've got some admission updates we'd love to share with you there. So definitely follow us and know to get connected. We are offering on-campus visits, but also virtual tours throughout the year. And please reach out to your counselor if you'd like to do a Zoom interview or phone interview. We'd love to get connected with you, but also connect you to some of our awesome current students. So yeah, just thank you all again for joining today, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the weekend. Thank you guys. See ya.